CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 22 of the Grace Attorney 2 Resolve. Last time, we accused Olive Green of trying to poison Shamspeare because it was revealed that basically he killed her fiance, and now basically we are accusing everyone of murder except Natsume. Each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. Apparently, he is inhaling the fumes from the hot air spewing forth from his head.
What?
Why would Mr. Shamspeare have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusations against the man.
Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance.
And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruto, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either, and CzarThwomp needs to misbehave.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Miss Green.
I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you both broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what were your reasons?
I wanted to read his smut plays. I was curious. I thought I'd have a look around, that's all.
Sorry?
You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life, and CzarThwomp needs to take off his pants so that way he doesn't get overheated.
Oh yeah, that's much better. That's much better. My legs are now not so heated. Yeah, because I wear sweatpants typically when I'm just lounging around. And the room I'm recording in basically gets a little heated when my computer's on. Oh, villainous! Oh, villainy! Oh, tyranny! Oh, rotundity of woman! Of thine thickness! I will not be swayed! But in any case, where and ere I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock.
That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some tubs and a piece of wire.
Oh, awfulness! Oh, artfulness! Oh, tyranny! Oh, profanity of woman!
We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Well, I spotted the note that I sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place. Eh? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place. Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box.
Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? Well, there was something in it?
Yes. This rather nice key.
Ah! I'm sorry, my screen was off there. What? What are you doing with that? What the? Every ounce of color is drained from his face. Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine! I inherited it!
What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it?
No, what's all this about? And CzarThwomp forgot to turn the timer on again! He inherited the key?
It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back this minute! Give it to me!
Calm yourself, witness.
So Mr. Shamspeare has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusations against Mr. Shamspeare at first. But considering everything we now know, I think there's actually something that could explain it.
What?
I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal, everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all these events.
In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claims. Was it that you say you could explain the motivation for Mr. Shamspeare's alleged crime?
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not? The Seldin file. How did you get a hold of that?
Seldin? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume have only one thing linking them: the fact that they had lodgings in the same room.
Well, yes, we know this, certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Seldin. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see.
And it just so happens that the convict Seldin left behind one very substantial... sorry. I'm fully up my own line, my own voice. What is wrong with me? And it just so happens that the convict Seldin left behind one very substantial mystery when he died.
The sum £1,000 worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in this file here. £1,000 lost en route to hell. That was how the paper summed it up.
And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Seldin entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret. The location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in.
Ah, you mean this key is...
Mr. Shamspeare, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? 'Tis a false charge! I tell you, a false charge!
The name of the inmate who was with Seldin at his death isn't noted in this file, but a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings?
There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Seldin hid his loot.
So, it all comes out.
Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shamspeare's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense.
When he was let out of prison following Seldin's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garadev's lodgings in the hopes of renting Seldin's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice.
Because Seldin's old room had already been let to someone else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shamspeare subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of that room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it.
Mr. Soseki Natsume, the defendant of this case, no less.
So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamspeare? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it. Okay. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it while they snitch me neck. Listen, I want you to have my loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, This is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamspeare. It's mine! What'd you just say? It's mine! That loot is mine! Mr. Shamspeare! It's all lies! I don't accept any of it! Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I am the victim here, remember. Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't that right, Horatio? His name is Horatio. If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me, for the time being anyways. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close, I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty, through and through. But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruto. There is a way. Pardon? There's one way I can finish him. No! Yes, through the ultimate Shakespearean wrestling match, we will determine who is stronger, Fortinbras or Hamlet. I will take the place of Hamlet, while Shamspeare will take the role. I'll take the role of Fortinbras, while Shamspeare takes the role of Hamlet. He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot, which means all we need to do is find it first.
A fine plan, were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's that all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule.
If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly. This is the final piece in this complex puzzle, but I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may have something that can help us find where that loot is hidden. My lord.
Yes, counsel?
The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. Spin me right around, spin me right round like a round table, spin me right around. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth the gamble. Besides, we have used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then.
Very well, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hall?
Okay. Yes. Basically, we want to use the skin prints. Skin prints.
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspeare's handprints on the wall of his lodgings.
That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene. Based on the wonderful new discovery in the line of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes. A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspeare. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title. I will punch you in the tummy and you will become sick. And then I shall put you in the full Nelson until you yield that I am the greater of the greats. Ah! The Herlock Sholmes himself!
What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not?
Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since the last we met.
Mr. Sholmes.
He does know Lord Van Zieks then. Well enough to say something like that in any case. No, that or Sherlock would just say that just for the sake of saying it.
Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit.
If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vile clues in this case already.
Clues, you say?
I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruto. Yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time?
Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes.
When the convict was arrested, he was living in what was now Saseki-san's room. We need a sample to help locate Seldin's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? Present a person. We will need something of Seldin's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And that's something, and something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of a listen to court record. Upon my words, Mr. Naruto, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the top. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain a possession of the late convict Seldin to create the indicator solution? Okay, here we go.
Take that!
Miss Green.
Me? What do you want with me?
The key around your neck, if you please.
Sorry?
The key belonged to Seldin. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true! That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Seldin touched in the room that he used to rent. Mr. Shamspeare is one great to another, I assure you. Yeah, and then watch how basically they use the solution. And it's revealed that Seldin touched everything in his room. Everything basically has been touched because Seldin anticipated something like this happening. So he just put his hands on every last square inch of the room. If the late convict's hall is in somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. That is if I don't stop to get a street hot dog first. So, Mr. Shamspeare. The truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Seldin's stolen wealth.
In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key.
No! Give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspeare. No! No! You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt.
Whoa!
Oh, shameful spear! Despair! Be thy name! I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room. That's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods.
Yet after you'd killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room.
I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garadeb really had a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume! What unfortunate timing! Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road, when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance. But it wasn't to me. Wasn't to be, sorry.
No, the scene was sealed up and guarded by the police night and day.
And if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why, on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room.
Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap. William Shamspeare, how does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question. From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. Now you will hear my sad backstory. At first, I didn't really think it was just a terrible accident. Sorry. At first, I thought it really was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died.
The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason.
That's no joke.
They say it's the convict's curse.
Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is.
Alrighty then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare
rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight?
No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we'd graduated before we told our parents, remember?
But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known what was going to happen.
Sorry.
I'd have insisted that he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school. But something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a moustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to the Rob's Grubbery for some food, so I followed him. And sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to make a quarrel with the publican. That place is cursed, I tell you! Cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me! I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas and I can hardly breathe. Well, the pipes have been checked, no problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking. But how could that be? Duncan was gone and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered a rumor I'd heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations. A rumor? Ah, you mean? Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems. How they go around checking the pipes. How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework. That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Is it really an accident, though? Once I had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End.
Black market?
I'd never been. I just heard people talking about them. And you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out one way or another, was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder? And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait.
If Mr. Shamspeare was innocent, nothing would come of what you'd done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly.
I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamspeare, and then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he had done that, I knew that would worry him enough so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked. And of course, Mr. Shamspeare followed the instructions to the letter. I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away. So I near a good amount of the poison I bought all around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the cobra would get his just desserts. "3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward." "Yes, my lord." "I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. And CzarThwomp has mucus coming up through his nose."
Okay, much better.
"It has been a very long road, my Nipponese friend."
Oh, yes.
"And one I certainly didn't envision walking with you. Anyone else but you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green." "Yes, my lord." "You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeare." "Yes, I know." "And you, Mr. Shamspeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Saseki Natsume here present." "Mr. Naruto,
Ah, yes?
yesterday at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from
Ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle?
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose."
Kind of fitting, considering that basically that was the whole reason why Hamlet was going through that whole monologue.
That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green.
Oh!
And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least.
Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, Miss Green.
Mr. Saseki Natsume. Yes, my lord? The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty.
And then basically, the guy, juror number 5. I'm not gonna have a not guilty. He may well, my wife is pissed at me. We are in full agreement, my lord.
In that case, I hereby declare the defendant.
And then juror number 5 just starts protesting. We have to go a full hour into more of the trial. A full hour's more of gameplay to fight juror number 5, who's just really angry.
Course adjourned.
February, 3:24 p.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Oh yes, yes, at last! Divine justice duly done! Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there was any divine justice in this world, you would shave that moustache! That's right, I caused you to get arrested twice, and I will burn you! No! This has nothing to do with my moustache!
Some say that luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes.
Welcome to it, Mr. New Esquire! Once again! You saved me from doom! I'm very happy to have been able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. You're second in almost as many days. Let's aim for a third! I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruit of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to that room and lived life through friendly old books.
You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
But a week ago now, I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? To a darker and dingier jail cell. You did, and I've seen more of life in this week than I've had on all of my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of English that's so far been hiding from me behind the wall of fog. And I hate it! My dear fellow, there's nothing special about the true face of the English as you put it. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are humans. There are few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live. Well said, I've come to feel the same way. Well said, I've come to feel the same way. Sorry, I thought it was Sherlock talking. I made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my stay tour here and return to Japan. What?
Just when we become friends here in England, what a terrible shame.
Oh, I know. What does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something of my own and not get arrested. A novel of sorts, I suppose.
Oh my, so you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume. How wonderful.
And then basically Natsume, he's on the boat heading back to England. And then he starts hearing a Stradivarius. No, it can't be! And then Sherlock bursts out of the wardrobe. Oh, but it is, Mr. Mustache Man. You're going to jail! And then Sherlock grabs Natsume and then just runs off the ship, runs onto the deck with him, and then jumps in the ocean, and then just starts swimming back to England to take Natsume back to the Old Bailey. Oh, well, no! I mean, I would presume to call it literature! Why not? When that's precisely the definition, Mr. Moustache. I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur.
I, for one, would love to read your work. Well, all things considered, it may be for the best.
And then Natsu may try selling his book, sends his book overseas to England, and then Van Zeke sees it. Oh no, this is not happening! Oh, this is not happening! I will not allow for this Nipponese to cause competition with my book fighting the rising sun! And basically it is just a picture of just Van Zeke, and the title is basically a picture of Van Zeke's standing in opposition to the Japanese flag and Ryunosuke.
After all, you've once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper.
That's very true.
And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper isn't the prosecutor. The desire to return most haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand. My goodness, yes, faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure.
But that's not why I'm leaving! I mean it! And that was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. So Seki-san did indeed return to Japan and submit a report about both cases to the government. Both were soaked with tears. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Susano-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of a telegram saying falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot, hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings.
Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. How simply marvelous of you to uncover the secret hiding place in just one day.
Was it supposed to take 30 minutes? Was it supposed to take 30 minutes?
As I believe I told you, my dear fellow, skin mints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? Gregson's been happily munching an agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley.
More like munching in fear! Really? My lady, please don't break my kneecaps again! Not with the crowbar!
Oh, don't worry, I'll break him when I feel like breaking him, but it won't be now. Happily, I think perhaps humorously might be closer to the truth.
So, it transpires the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is this loot?
Let us look then, if you're ready.
Let's examine the late burglar's haul. And we will sell it for our own profits. What is this?
It looks to be some sort of neckband or collar.
A collar? It's huge though.
And look at the gemstones in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth 1,000 pounds. Perhaps I could have it as a belt.
Yes, Iris is gonna be wearing this pimped out. Is gonna be wearing a collar as a pimped out belt.
Oh, have you noticed how on the inside there are some dark stains?
You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it.
On second thought, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. I already have my blood-soaked shoes for when I kick the people who don't pay me my protection money. And of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B with a small crown.
What does it signify, do you think?
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know? Where could it have been?
That's enough of that, I think. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? I'm selling that collar for money so that I can buy alkaloids to experiment with tasting. All the color is drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, aren't you? It could be valuable evidence after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key. Oh, yes. Get your grubby hands over that, you lot, and hand it over, now! I'd never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly looked to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out to me the most, at least not once I noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar, those stains, could they really have been blood? Blood on the ground.
Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now.
And you look very pleased, Iris.
I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis for this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating.
You're talking about the latest installment of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I presume.
The mystery of the knife in the mist and the mustached man in the convict's curse, perhaps. I could use it and make it a two-part story. Oh, I can't wait.
A word, please, Iris.
Yes, what is it, Hurley?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question. I'm barely involved in it. Mr. Naruto was the one doing the grand bulk of the work. Unless, of course, you write it so that way it's shown that I defended Mr. Mustache after getting him arrested.
What? Why not? It's such a great case.
Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear? The public mustn't know that I have consumed soap.
But Holmes, it'll make you relatable. Yes, Holmesy.
And so it was that the second of Soseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Yes, and then basically that Russian terror is basically Sherlock originally thought that basically Naruto was basically because he rams an omnibus into the Crystal Tower. He found the Crystal Tower at long last. That's gonna be the conclusion of that arc. The key of knowledge. Okay. I am going to be starting up the next case and then basically ending it off from there. Okay, let's go. The Giant Death Laser. Episode 3, The Great Departed Soul. That was departed because they fired a giant laser from the Eiffel Tower.
The grand end of the century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few were aware my friend Mr. Sherlock Holmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the Great Exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people. The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies.
And then the Omnibus Guild, they're just gonna rise up. They're just gonna go up on that stage and start beating people up. Beep! Come on, Beepo! We gotta beat the crap out of him before he takes our omnibus and going. Beepo can't get blood! Beepo needs to eat! Beepo is freezing! Beepo just pushes someone off the ledge. Beepo will strike down! Beepo is activating the self-destruct device!
And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine! A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before. In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you!
This one! Yes, yes, yes! Woo-hoo! Yes, 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 yes! No, please, that's not what I wanted.
Bruno, are you listening?
Well, one thing I know is that we're going to be ending the episode off because I think now would be a good time to end things off. Anyways, I really appreciate that you stuck around to watch this episode. You're a great viewer, and I hope you come back for the next one. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you want. With that, I'll see you next time. Bye.